What's happening? It's been a very long time, hasn't it? What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla MonsterVerse news and updates. Oh my god, I can't believe we're doing another news and updates. The last news and updates I did, I don't know when the last one I recorded was, but the last one I posted was on March 30th, 2021, the day before Godzilla vs. Kong came out. What? It's just been a long time. A lot's changed. For instance, the Patreon, that thing that you should please check it out. I've got a link to my Patreon down below in the description. It really goes a long way towards supporting the channel, making sure I can keep doing videos like this for you. Genuinely, honestly, it really does go a long way, and I truly appreciate it. By joining the Patreon using the link in the description below, you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, you can request videos, and more. So it really does go a long way. And there's also exclusive Patreon content that will be coming out sooner rather than later, so if you want exclusive content, it'll be out there. Sorry it's been so long since I've done news videos. I just got really burnt out on them, and also I just didn't have time to do them. I just simply couldn't make them anymore, because I really haven't been able to make a lot of videos. Don't get totally used to news and updates being back. I will bring it back once this show picks up some steam and we can talk about some news, but just for the meantime, don't get totally used to the news and updates being back simply because I am still in school. That is going to eat up all my time, and I just will not have the time to make the videos that I would like to for you guys. So don't get your hopes up. This is just going to be a specialty thing. I'll also do another video talking about the Kong anime. It's one that I recorded a million years ago, but I just will get it out there so you can hear my thoughts on that as well. All right, there's only one headline we're going to cover today, but there's a lot of analysis I'm going to do to explain this, so it's going to be a bit of a loaded discussion. Starting out, it was just a headline that I just was not anticipating or ready for. Legendary announced a new MonsterVerse live-action series headed for Apple TV Plus featuring Godzilla and the Titans. Yeah, that's right, Godzilla and the Titans. I have a feeling that it's going to be featuring Godzilla and the Mutos. I don't know what other Titans they'll feature in that show, but I also have a feeling it's going to be very light on featuring Godzilla and the Titans. This is an Apple TV Plus show. I don't know how big their budgets traditionally are, but as we'll talk about, they don't actually have any special effects driven shows, nor do they have any big budget series like this, so this is going to be a first for them. And I could see this being a very grounded human story that almost has no kaiju. I could see us going episode after episode without any involvement from Godzilla or the gang, and then saving them for the premiere when we're probably going to get 2014 flashbacks, and the finale when we'll get something. I don't know. That's just my early prediction. Who knows? It's just so far out of development that there's no true way to tell. All right, Apple put out a big description for this show, so we'll run through it and talk about what it all means. Starting out, the new series is being developed by Chris Black. He is a producer on the show and the showrunner of it. He worked on Star Trek Enterprise, Outcast, and Mad Men. It's a pretty ranged description of shows that he's been on, but it includes sci-fi and Mad Men, which is a very good show. And comic book writer Matt Fraction is working on this. He did the Hawkeye comic that the recent show was based on. It's a very beloved comic, and he's also done about 1 million Marvel comics. I know that he's generally considered to be a very strong writer. I don't know anything about these two outside of that, but I hope that that means the show is in good hands. Breaks my heart to see Max Bornstein is not involved. I know that some people may not love him, but he has brought a consistency to the MonsterVerse so far, and I am a little worried that by putting this on Apple TV, it's going to feel disjointed from the MonsterVerse, and it will lose a little sense of that continuity. But that's an early fear. Who knows? We still have to wait to see how the show goes and how it's developing, and then we can go from there. The series will release on Apple TV Plus. Now, this is the same service that releases shows like The Morning Show, Ted Lasso, which is apparently a very great show. I haven't seen it yet. Defending Jacob, See, Mythic Quest, and, you know, just a bunch of human-driven shows. Nothing like Godzilla. It's got a subscription point of $4.99 a month or $59.88 a year. It's just another subscription service we gotta subscribe to. God damn it. If this means we don't get a DVD release of a Godzilla series, I just don't like streaming. I just think, why would we want that when we could have a DVD? That's to say that I'm okay with streaming shows. I just like physical releases of them. Like Stranger Things gets DVD releases, and that's cool. Buy more Blu-rays, guys. It's just, digital's not the way to go. All right, the series is centered around Godzilla and Monarch. Now, that's going to come to a shock to a lot of people who thought Godzilla was just simply out of the MonsterVerse. In 2020, they thought he was going to be gone. This is just simply not the case, and we'll talk a lot about that in a little bit. It's being produced by Safehouse Pictures, Legendary Legendary and Toho. Executive producers Hiro Matsuuko, who worked on Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Tekimesa Arita. I don't know how to say their names, I'm sorry. They're going to be working on this to oversee Godzilla's involvement and keep some consistency with the Godzilla character. Cool. Glad Toho's got a strong involvement. The plot description is this. Following the thunderous battle between Godzilla and the Titans that leveled San Francisco, call them Mutos, that's what they were, and the shocking new reality that monsters are real, the series explores one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and a legacy linking them to the secret organization known as Monarch. Alright, so a show about human characters, very grounded, exploring Godzilla from an outsider's perspective and digging into Monarch at a time when they were not totally known to the public and they were still a shady organization. That all sounds awesome, and it also sounds like the perfect place to not involve Godzilla a lot. This is taking place directly after the 2014 film, it sounds like, which means we'll probably start in that film's timeline, seeing the events of that film. Maybe we'll see straight up footage from that movie. Maybe we'll see alternate angles like we saw in King of the Monsters, where we got new stuff from that original battle. But this definitely sounds like set up to not involve Godzilla a lot, and then to have the show about a conspiracy, digging into the conspiracy of Monarch from an outsider's perspective, which could be very cool. I've actually said in multiple videos in the past that I thought a very cool idea would be to take something like Shin Godzilla and then to do a sequel taking place at the exact same time as the original, but from a ground perspective of just some civilian. I think that's a very interesting take on it, and it kind of sounds like that might be what we're getting here. I'm all for this idea. I do think that it's going to give birth to not a lot of Godzilla screen time and a lot of Godzilla fandom complaining. I just don't see an Apple TV Plus show going all out with budgets. It's not Disney Plus like many people have tried to spin it, and it's not HBO Max, so it's just not probably going to have the budgets we're expecting as a fandom wanting Godzilla to show up a lot. I could be wrong, we'll see, I don't know. This is a very complicated time period to set stuff in. There's existing canon here, you know, we've got Godzilla Aftershock that takes place directly after the 2014 movie. We get Muto Prime going around the world basically causing destruction and Godzilla having to go clean that up. Now if this is a live action adaptation of that story from an outsider's perspective, so that's all going on in the background, meanwhile we're following a different family looking into Monarch, that'd be fantastic. But I can almost guarantee that this show is going to retcon that out of existence. I also worry that they will show Godzilla, and we're not supposed to see Godzilla. Mark Russell makes it very clear at the start of Godzilla King of the Monsters, the dude has not shown up since 2014. Now I guess he doesn't exactly specify when in 2014, so there is still the possibility that Godzilla could wiggle around a little bit, but he can't do much, because we know from the news reports in Godzilla King of the Monsters that he's not done much since the San Francisco battle. That's why even Aftershock is a little like, yeah, it's a little shaky already. I don't know, I hope that they have the Legendary continuity team involved in this. It's produced by Legendary, so I'm sure it will. You guys know me, I'm not optimistic about things until I'm given a reason to be, so I'm just airing my fears now so that I can be more cheery and happy once the show is better than what I was expecting. Also, I'm not expecting this show to suck, by the way. I think it could be very cool. I think it's a cool idea. Okay, so Godzilla going away from the MonsterVerse. The MonsterVerse is dead. That's what the fandom has kind of spun this little web of. For years, I've been seeing this, and I have been trying to tell you guys, it's wrong. I've been trying to tell you since 2019 that it's wrong. Godzilla's not gonna go away. It's not over. Let's run through it. Legendary tweeted out, continue the MonsterVerse on April 4th after it started trending. That was a pretty good sign that they wanted to move forward with the MonsterVerse. And that's exactly what they're doing. Now, a lot of people might be wondering why they're not going to HBO Max. I think it actually makes a lot of sense from Legendary's perspective. Legendary owns Godzilla, they own the rights to him, and they can do what they want with him. Warner Bros. Is typically involved with distribution of these Godzilla projects. Now, I still strongly believe that cinematic Godzilla releases will go between Legendary and Warner Bros. Legendary does not distribute, they can't do that. They're a producing company, so they need somebody like Warner Bros. To release things in theaters. Also, I don't think Godzilla and Kong are done in theaters. I'll talk about Son of Kong when I get to it, but obviously there's Kong stuff that's in development, there's Godzilla stuff that's in development, we just don't know about it yet. Nothing's confirmed yet. So if you remember, when everything was going on with COVID, Netflix bid $200 to $250 million for Godzilla vs. Kong, which was a fairly profitable deal for Legendary to take. They wanted to take that deal, or at least to explore it. Godzilla vs. Kong's budget was $160 million, so they would have made a lot of money. Warner Bros. Wanted day-and-date releases, so they outright blocked the Netflix deal without any negotiations. Legendary was suffering from COVID very bad at the time. By December 2020, they were like very bad. They might have even gone bankrupt had things not turned around for them. They really needed help. The MonsterVerse was and is their most popular and successful franchise, and Legendary really relies on it. Warner Bros. Announced the HBO Max day-and-date release and faced a lot of backlash to it from studios and filmmakers alike. alike, including Legendary, who was not warned about this decision. Legendary responded by threatening legal action against Warner Bros. Legendary was interested in continuing the MonsterVerse as a theatrical-only franchise and was interested in more installments. And that's a good sign that we will get more Godzilla in theaters. Warner Bros. Paid off Legendary $250 million to settle out of court, and then they paid off Godzilla vs. Kong, and it was all good. And it stayed date to date, and the rest is history. So this whole idea of the end of the MonsterVerse, this comes from a potentially mistranslated interview, and I say that because I've heard from a couple of sources that the interview is just blatantly mistranslated, but an interview with Shinji Higuchi coming out of G-Fest that stated that Toho can't make another live-action Godzilla movie until America was done with Godzilla in 2020 after Godzilla vs. Kong. Everybody took that to mean that the Godzilla license ended in 2020 and reverted back to Toho. Even if that's true, which there was no confirmation that it was, that doesn't mean they couldn't renegotiate. What the interview was specifically stating was that Toho can't make another live-action Godzilla movie while live-action Godzilla movies are coming out in theaters. They need a gap between them so that they can produce one of their own. We are in a gap right now. Toho might be producing one of their own. Who knows? I don't. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I think Legendary is going to be next up. But I'm just saying Toho can if they want. They just didn't want two conflicting live-action Godzillas to come out in the same year at the same time. Michael Dougherty and Legendary have both spoken up about wanting to continue the MonsterVerse. Michael Dougherty wanted to make a Godzilla TV show about the ancient history of Godzilla, exploring the different time periods and showing off the ancient civilization that was seen in King of the Monsters and how they coexisted with Titans. I don't think this show that they're currently developing is going to dive into that at all. I think it's going to stay very far away from it. I think this show is going to be centered entirely around Godzilla 2014, and I'm all for that. It was a time when Godzilla was much more grounded, and I actually liked him more in that movie than I have since then. Also, I wonder if the new show is going to use the 2014 Godzilla design or if it's going to use the Dougherty Godzilla design. I hope it uses the 2014 one because that's the one that canonically it should. In a lot of set visits leading into Godzilla King of the Monsters, Legendary executives said they wanted to continue the MonsterVerse beyond Godzilla vs. Kong so long as the box office would allow it. This included people like Max Bornstein. The MonsterVerse is still currently the most successful franchise Legendary owns. It's a $2 billion franchise, and as we'll talk about in a little bit, it was also the most profitable franchise Warner Bros. Owned in 2021. As far as Toho's side of things, in a 2019 interview with Akito Takahashi, he referenced Toho's plans to become more involved in the creative side of the MonsterVerse moving into and beyond Godzilla vs. Kong. So that means into this show, I would assume. I think those executive producers are going to have some creative input maybe, based on the way that interview would imply anyways. He said that Toho loved Godzilla King of the Monsters and that they wanted to keep that up, despite the fact that it wasn't received terribly well and the box office was a disappointment. This was also an interview where he said Mechagodzilla would appear in the MonsterVerse at some point, and we have now seen that, so we know what that was. It was Godzilla vs. Kong. Toho said that they'd be willing to let other Toho monsters be used in the MonsterVerse in the future so long as a director wanted to use them for a good purpose. It was also said Toho was happy with having two branches of Godzilla developing simultaneously. In a November 2021 interview, so very recently, Chris Mowry, the creative manager at Toho, and Laura Cohan, manager-director licensing Toho International, were interviewed and both said Godzilla isn't going anywhere. This is not a stopping point. And that was in reference to the franchise, not the MonsterVerse. They then reaffirmed the MonsterVerse is also far from over. Toho does not want to kill it off because it's still making them, quote, tons of money. Alright, as for Godzilla vs. Kong's box office and why I'm confident that Godzilla isn't going anywhere, this show is not the end. I think he'll be back in theaters soon enough. I think we can expect towards middle point 2022 to hear more about the next live-action Kong movie and potentially the next live-action Godzilla movie. I would assume Kong's up first and then Godzilla. I wouldn't expect another Godzilla movie in theaters until like 2024 or 5. I'd expect Kong maybe to be 2023 or 4. That's a guess though, guys. Don't take that as scripture. Okay. Alright, the box office. Godzilla vs. Kong is a huge hit. Not only was Legendary paid off over 156% of what they spent on the movie, and that was the movie's original budget. Actually, they were probably paid closer to 208% what they spent on the movie, given that they only financed 75% of the film's budget. Warner Bros. Considered their 2021 film slate a complete success as of January 2021, despite HBO Max not going on to make quite the splash they wanted it to. They also introduced the COVID-19 multiplier, which treated every $1 at the box office as $2 made. So that means that in a weird way, according to Warner Bros., Godzilla vs. Kong made $935,726,226 at the box office, which, if that was the case, not that it was, obviously, that's according to their multiplier, that is a lot more money than the $566.7 million Kong Skull Island grossed, and it is a huge amount compared to the $386.6 million made by King of the Monsters. Box office estimates for Godzilla vs. Kong before it came out said that the film was slated to make $68.3 million opening weekend in a pre-COVID world and $23.3 $21.7 million in a post-COVID world. The film actually grossed $31.6 million opening weekend, which exceeded expectations by quite a bit. According to estimations, that would have meant that Godzilla vs. Kong's opening weekend was $91 million in a pre-COVID world, placing it right alongside Godzilla 2014's $93 million for its opening weekend, making it the second to the top of the MonsterVerse. The 2021 box office overall, as it actually was, ranked Godzilla vs. Kong at number 13 in the domestic box office with $100.5 million. 13 is not bad, that's pretty solid. It was ranked number 8 at the worldwide box office, above Dune, which is awesome, as Legendary and Warner Bros. Most successful film of the year with $467.9 million. Also, in my personal opinion, we achieved a victory here. I mean, I know the films didn't open in China, so there's a little bit of controversy here, but I don't care. Godzilla vs. Kong outperformed 2 Marvel movies at the box office, one of which was very good. It outperformed Shang-Chi and The Eternals, so great. I'm glad the MonsterVerse was able to stand up against the MCU and come out victorious 2 out of 3 times, kind of like Godzilla and Kong. Except that in that case, the MCU was Kong, and I root for Kong, so I don't like that comparison anymore. Godzilla vs. Kong also did better than King of the Monsters, even given a global pandemic, and it was the first pandemic release to make this much money. That meant that Godzilla vs. Kong is officially hailed as the film to revive cinemas. That is a really, really nice title. Godzilla vs. Kong opened up the Chinese theater for premieres again. It's a historical event. Godzilla vs. Kong is awesome. I don't know why people are not recognizing that the MonsterVerse is the hero of cinemas. It was not the heroes, it was the monsters. However, this box office haul was with 79% viewership overseas, placing this franchise alongside things like James Bond and the Fast franchise as needing a strong international market to keep them afloat. That's fine. It's all good. It was the number 8 most successful film of 2021 based on budget to box office ratio. It made anywhere from 234% to 302% its budget back, and that's without HBO Max, given this is not all profit due to marketing costs. All of that very heavy-handed analysis to say the MonsterVerse is safe and sound, it's not going anywhere. I guess I'm just really fed up with people being like, the MonsterVerse is dead, Godzilla if it goes on TV is dead. I hear that argument a lot. If Godzilla vs. Kong comes out and then the next Godzilla thing is a TV show, the MonsterVerse is just done there. Godzilla's never coming back to theaters. The analysis I just provided should show you that there's financial incentive on everybody's part to keep Godzilla in theaters, including Toho, Legendary, and Warner Bros. I don't know why any of the 3 of them would sacrifice that. To sum up all of everything that I just talked about and what it all means, if you're wondering why did this show not go on to HBO Max? Why is it an Apple Plus release? Why did that happen? That happened because Warner Bros. And Legendary did not get along in 2021 due to the day-and-date releases from HBO Max. Yeah, I mean, yes, Legendary was paid off in full from Warner Bros. They were paid off more than what they spent on the budget, as I went over. But that doesn't mean that they were happy about the decision. It makes complete sense to me if I were Legendary that I would not want Warner Bros. Putting their stuff on HBO Max, because then they get double profit. Now they're getting the profit off of making it, and they're getting the profit off of HBO Max subscriptions, and you're not seeing as much of that. So it makes complete sense to me that in this instance, Legendary would be like, all right, let's license out to Netflix, let's license out to Apple Plus, let's license outside of Warner Bros. Because if we keep using Warner Bros. For distribution, they're going to keep putting it on HBO Max, which is not the best streaming service. It's not failing like some people say, but it's not thriving. So if you wanted to have a much bigger audience, you're going to try and go somewhere like Netflix, which has a huge audience, right? I don't know how big Apple Plus's audience is. I think it's fairly strong. The point is that if you're Legendary, you don't want everything going to HBO Max, because then you're not getting as much profit as you could. If you're Warner Bros., you really want things going on HBO Max. That's why I think moving forward, we are going to see a split in the MonsterVerse. I think TV shows are going to be all over the place, unfortunately. That's really sad, but I think it's true. They're going to be kind of spread out everywhere but HBO Max, whereas with the MonsterVerse films, I think it's still going to be Warner Bros. And Legendary, and they're going to release in theaters, and then after that, they'll go on HBO Max. Also, I wonder, in reference to the Skull Island anime, if it has anything to do with Netflix owning the distribution rights to animated King Kong, as they do produce their own animated King Kong show. I guess they haven't in a while, but they definitely owned the rights at one point, so I wonder if they just had those rights left over, and then Legendary was like, oh, let's use it, let's go to them. That could also be the case. Alright, I hope I summed everything up from a business perspective about what's going on here, at least to the best of my ability. Keep in mind that I'm just me. I'm not involved in the industry, so it's just me, it's just my analysis. But I hope I did a good enough job explaining that all for you guys, where you can understand the decision from a financial perspective. I can't talk as much about the creative side of things at the moment because we just don't know enough. As soon as we get more creative details, I will be here to cover them for you. Once again, I'd like to give a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. You are the best. Shout out to my top tier patrons, Saturn Dust, Godzilla 154, and Acno Goji. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.